Okay, yeah?
Yeah.
So today we're going to look at changing the belt on the Urban Drive. We've already looked at the Pro Drive. This is a bit easier. You can see the belt's exposed, so it's a good, you can always check if there's any wear and tear or damage. The process is similar but in taking the wheel off, but we only have to remove this part to get to the belt. This also does our belt tensioner as opposed to around the truck on the Pro Drive. Pause. Perishing, cracking, any damage to it from stones. Sometimes stones might get underneath and travel around onto the slave pulley, causing like a nipple in the belt. Anything like that, you'll want to service the belt and change it. So if you're going to need to replace the belt on the Urban Drive, you're going to need a 460 by 15mm belt. You can find these on the Tramper website under the belt section. Also, the tools you're going to need are a 3mm Allen key, that's to take the wheel off. You're going to need to remove the spokes again to split the rim apart because the backside's attached to the slave pulley. You're going to need a T20 Torx, that'll do these 4 bolts around here. There's just one inside there that you can't see. And then the 16mm, fuck, I forgot what this is called. Cheers. So now we're going to take off the axle nut. So now we're going to use our T20 Torx and just loosen these off the motor housing. You can see once you've done that, the belt's nice and loose, and you should just be able to slide that whole wheel off with the slave pulley. I'm going to take these bolts all the way out to remove the bearing housing support for the motor, and then we can take the belt off and inspect that. So once you've taken the 3 screws out of the axle support, you can leave that 4th one in that only supports the motor on the carbon panel. Then we can remove the support and get to the belt. Now the belt's off, we can have a closer look for any damage, but we could see before with the Open Drive system that there's nothing wrong with this belt. We're actually going to put this one straight back on, but it's just a demonstration to show you how you change and adjust the belt tension on the Urban Drive. So when we've got the belt all off, it's a good time to clean up this carbon panel. Sometimes dust from the belt can get on there. Check over your motor pulley, check that it's tight on there, there's grub screws tight, and check the teeth for wear. So we've checked over our belt and our motor pulley. We're going to put the belt back on, slide it over the axle and over the motor pulley. Then we can slide our axle support, pushing that onto the axle. So you might need to support the motor from the back just to line up the holes through the support on the carbon panel. And then just do them finger tight just to locate them. Once you've got one in, it should be fairly easy to get the others. So I'm going to do all these up, but not all the way, so that we can still adjust the belt once the wheel and slave pulley is back on. Now we're going to put the wheel back onto the axle. First we're going to make sure our belt's over the axle. Next we're going to put our bearing, support spacer and O-ring on. Now we're going to put our wheel on. You're going to want to make sure that there's no tension on the motor. It's not set up here. You want it the least amount of tension possible. Make it easy getting the wheel on. Bearing fell out. I'm going to start again. Oh, she stinks, that one. Alright. Now we're going to put the wheel back on. You're going to want to make sure the motor's got plenty of slack. Don't want any tension in this belt, although it's only going to make it harder to get the slave pulley on. And just slide the wheel onto the axle and just give it a turn and the belt should pop on. Now we're going to put on the axle nut. We want to make sure that this is all secure before we start changing anything with the tension. So make sure this is tight and back it off half a turn, quarter of a turn. And back quarter of a turn. Now we're going to set the belt tension. You just want to grab the motor from underneath, put your palm onto the carbon plate and pull it back. You want to have enough tension so you can turn the belt 90 degrees. That should be perfect. And get a few of these torques dipped up while you're holding it. Bollocks! Another thing to be aware of once you've got it all tightened up and the tension's on, just give it a bit of a spin. Make sure that it's not touching the tyre and also that it's fully on the slave pulley. It shouldn't move from where it is if the mount stayed the same. The wheel will sit exactly where it did before, but just as a visual check, just before you start going. Right, so that was changing the belt on the Urban Drive. The things we've looked at today are how to check for the damage. You can obviously visually inspect this without taking it off, so there's no need to do it unnecessarily. I talked about cleaning the slave pulleys, checking the motor pulley, also checking for clearance when you put it back on. Also how to set the belt tension, make sure it can turn that 90 degrees. We also have other videos on general maintenance, whether it's bushings, changing a tyre, anything like that for your board, so check those out. Also, if you've got the Pro Drive, we have a video on that as well, so go check that one out. And thanks for watching.